Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so deeply grateful to see everybody showing up here today. My name is Monica Kohler. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm the owner and storyologist at Connecting Community. And it's my privilege and my honor to be here connecting with you today in collaboration with the Bellingham Public Library to be able to present to you 15 amazing stories from storytellers in our community. This is a really important time. This is a really important time for us to show up for healing and connection in community. And so I thank you all for being here. So this event would absolutely not be possible without the support of the Friends of the Library. Thank you to the Community Health Plan of Washington for their sponsorship and the Whatcom Perinatal Mental Health Task Force. Round of applause for all these amazing contributors. So I started Connecting Community in 2017 with the hopes of leaning into community wellness conversations with love. But things really shifted for me in 2019 when I created my first digital story. And I would really just love to share that story with you now.
Cuando empieza el sol las nubes a teñir su color de arrebol, ya los bebés se recogen a dormir. Duerme amor sin temor, al país de los ensueños volarás, volarás feliz.
The skies were gray and snowy as my car, filled with all my belongings, arrived in silent Bellingham, Washington, 8 years ago. Gentrification and our choice to grow our family led me to leave behind my Bay Area community. As my husband and I unpacked my belongings, I wondered if I belonged here. I still don't know. My mother immigrated from El Salvador, and my father left Germany in the late 1960s. We spoke only English. The first time I ate a pupusa was when I went to El Salvador when I turned 18. I am from San Leandro, the city that borders Oakland, California, right off East 14th and Dutton, near Sam's Burgers and their thick strawberry milkshakes. Folks who looked like me and different than me. I am from hot, sunny days at the local swimming pool, hip-hop, laughing loud, and yelling when a story got really exciting. Now the faces I see every day don't look like mine or my children. When we go to the library or park, we are like brown specks in a sea of blonde hair and blue eyes. Sometimes when I walk by folks, they reply with a hello after I greet them. Most of the time, they don't. I wrap myself into my jacket a little tighter, hoping it will somehow shield me from the coldness I feel. Some of the best parts of myself aren't welcome here. I miss them. I'm scared that my children can tell that we don't belong. Will they get to hear me laugh loudly and yell when stories get exciting? And so we are working to remember our cultural ways It's in the collective sound of abuela and my children's hands making tortillas and the cancioncitas we sing. It's in reclaiming our language by commuting to a dual language public school where my son's eyes connect with other brown eyes. It's the small things like reading books that are windows opening up to an expansive world. We sing loudly and have dance parties in our living room.
Cuando empiece sobre nubes a teñir tu color darefo con lazos debe ser recubrir I don't need doing temor sin temor a países sueños puedan feliz.
Thank you so much for listening. There's healing that happens every time I share that story and can share with you all. So over the years, I've been asked, is that still true? Is it still true that you don't belong? And somewhere along the way, things did shift for me. After I had the time and space, that's all we need, two things, time and space, to be able to process and unpack some of the things that we carry. And after sharing my story, I felt a little lighter. And I have to give a shout out to my mentors at Story Center in Berkeley because they trained me to be able to now share this within our community. And it's just been such a privilege and an honor to be able to connect with people in such a deep, authentic, vulnerable way every time I'm in a workshop and we get to laugh together or to cry together and say, hey, I've experienced that too. It just is a really special thing. I can't describe it. So thank you so much to the storytellers that are here. I literally couldn't do my job without you. And for your sharing throughout the years and the healing that I've gotten by being able to connect with you. So you might notice today as you're watching these stories, there's a lot of Black and brown folks featured in these stories, and that's done with intent. 80% of connecting community stories have been shared by storytellers of color over the past, 5 years since I've been doing this. And that's because it's so critically important for us to have space for people of color, for diverse folks to come together and share their beautiful traditions and cultural ways in community. And I also recognize that these are the relationships that I've built and I'm still really working to build and connect with folks. And there's a big question that's always on my mind, and that's who's missing? Where are my children at? Men, the LGBTQIA plus community, people with disabilities, elders, people that have been impacted by systems of oppression economically, refugees, veterans, where are my veterans at? Youth, immigrants, people who've been persecuted for religious beliefs, survivors, workers, unhoused people, undocumented, incarcerated, queer, everyone and all. So I have my work cut out for me, and I need each and every one of your help to be able to collaborate and bring forth these voices that we really need to hear to be able to heal in community and connect. Now I'm so excited to honor some of the storytellers that are here today. And I invite Bethany to come on up, and we're gonna ask some storytellers to join us here.
Okay, great. I have to say that it has been such an honor to work with Monica on these stories. Everyone at the Bellingham Public Library that has gotten to interface and work on this, it's a labor of love, and we've all learned so much by Monica's ability to guide and her values on this project, and it's all relationship based, and I hope we can all take that away today as well. You might be wondering, why would the Bellingham Public Library collaborate with Monica on this? Well, I have some answers for you. While the library does hold thousands of stories in our collections, we know that the most powerful and impactful stories are those from our neighbors, our community members, and as Monica talked about, those are often the stories that don't get shared and don't get told. We love the empowerment of this project to share and tell those stories today. We believe that storytelling is a means of healing, of connection, and transformation. The act of telling and the act of listening deeply, which is our job today, opens pathways towards empathy and understanding. By offering space for these perspectives, the library really seeks to deepen community connection and well-being, encourage dialogue, and really build towards a more inclusive future for us all. Our most recent collaboration, Somos Comunidad, are the stories that we're featuring today. And I'd like to take a moment to also honor Alan Alatorre, who co-led the Somos Comunidad project with Monica. Although he couldn't be here today, we are so grateful for his contribution.
So, we are in store for 15 amazing stories that we're going to be able to listen deeply to. First up, we're going to have from the Bellingham Public Library, stories from the Somos Comunidad project. After that, we're going to be hearing from different community collaborators, including the Whatcom Perinatal Mental Health Task Force, the ARC of Whatcom, Area Health Education Center for Western Washington, Whatcom Coalition for Anti-Racist Education, also known as Whatcom Care, the North Sound Race and Health Equity Alliance, a story in partnership with the Mount Baker Foundation and Whatcom Community Foundation for a restoring retreat that I held. And then our last series is going to be stories told by folks connected with White Swan Environmental, one last story from Bellingham Public Library, and Moms Rising. Those last three are the folks that are going to be part of the panel discussion. So I'm really looking forward to that part of learning even a little bit more about these storytellers.
Queridos abuelita y abuelito, the more I sit down and write this letter, the less I have to say. It's almost as if I can't speak Spanish anymore, and that is the worst heartache ever. If it weren't for you two, el mundo a través del español no estaría en mí. Y ahora que no están, es como si hubiera perdido un poco de esa parte de mí. Recuerdo que ustedes dormían en cuartos separados. Nunca vi que se demostraran cariño entre ustedes. You two would tease each other, but you seem like a strong team. Abuelita, you were the one that made me fall in love with cuentos. En una cama con muchos nietos apretaditos, nos quedábamos despiertos escuchando tus historias hasta que el último se quedaba despierto escuchando el final del cuento. You also knew every prayer, and I wanted to memorize one, just like you. Maybe that's where my love for poetry came from. Grandpa would ride his donkey around the rancho, just to find a resting stop, somewhere to sit for hours and tell stories to whomever would listen. You were loud. You were funny without trying to be. This life seemed so simple, and it made me happy. I would play with my favorite cousins in casa de ustedes. I felt safe. I felt seen. I felt at home. Y todo venía de esa casa where I could smell the minty toothpaste in the bathroom at night with the crickets singing in the background, or where Grandpa asked for rosas rojas como unos de tus últimos deseos. I don't want to lose any of these stories, because if I do, I feel like I am losing my Spanish, a little of you two, and a little of me, y perdiendo un poco de mi hogar. Pero ahora tengo más certeza y fe de que nunca estaremos separados. We are always connected, maybe even more than we were before, because I have a box of memories with you two that I can access at any moment.
Memories flow in and out. A memory like going to church every Sunday with my dad and sister when I was young. The vivid memory of how much I loved going and how excited I felt when Sundays would come. The memory of a phrase so vividly that still it's as if I'm being taught it all over again. Soy mexicana. The first part of a phrase that would come to change my thoughts, feelings, and shape my identity. As I grew, it became hard to differentiate whether I truly believed these feelings and memories surrounding my identity and my beliefs, or was it because it was the only connection I had with my dad and my family? Two major aspects of my life that molded who I was. As a teen, the thought of how dare I comes flooding my mind. To think anything else felt so wrong. Porque soy mexicana. Y ser mexicana era ser católica, ¿verdad? All my life, it was instilled that my blood is green, white, and red. Que soy de tierra caliente, de una cultura de colores y sabores vibrantes, de un pueblo pequeño pero fuerte. If asked what I was, to respond Mexicana, loud and proud. Little did I know it came with conditions. Y eso era, para ser mexicana tenías que ser católica. ¿Ser mexicana es ser católica? A phrase that haunted me as I grew, attended Sunday schools, lived between México y los Estados Unidos. Una frase que para mí era verdad. Everyone around me was Mexican and Catholic, so I also had to be. A phrase that caused me pain, self hate, anxiety, depression, and a whole identity crisis. As I grew, learned, and my beliefs changed, I began to look at what is a true Mexican. Did I have to fit into every checkbox? ¿Por qué no era suficiente que yo era feliz y contenta? Y lo que yo te puedo decir es ser mexicana o latina es ser lo que te da tu gana. Yo no soy católica, pero soy mexicana 100%. You are not any less of your identity or culture simply for not fitting into what others think is true of that identity.
A few years ago, I saw an infograph. It's called Ancestral Mathematics. It states that in order to be alive on this earth today, we need to have had two parents, four grandparents, eight great grandparents, 16 second great grandparents, and so on and so forth. It also states that in 12 generations, which is roughly 400 years, we would have had 4,096 ancestors. While I may not have my own children, I have a niece and nephew that I care for deeply. And I'm sharing our stories for them and for future generations. Growing up, my mom and dad raised me as a traditional Mexican, whatever that may mean. Hablábamos español en la casa, pero en el mundo nos comunicábamos en inglés. It was difficult switching from my American identity to my Mexican identity. At school, I was one person, while at home, I was another. Many may not realize how difficult it is to live in two different worlds every day. It wasn't until the age of 31 that I realized that I don't really know my history. With the exception of a biology taster test in the 12th grade, where I discovered I have 90 first cousins, I only really knew the names of my grandparents and hadn't seen some of my relatives for 15 years. That summer, I told my mom, Ándale, mami, agarra tu pasaporte porque nos vamos a Mexico. My mom thought it was a joke, but soon enough she realized I was full planning a trip. We were going to camp some nights, we were going to stay in hotels others, and we set off, driving endless days. And through my mind, I wondered, will my primas remember me? Will my tía y mi tío remember me? It had been so long since I last saw them. But I turned to my mom and I said, Vamos a ver mis primos. Vamos a ver mis primos. And next thing you know, we're arriving to Del Rio, Texas, where most of my family lives, while some of my family still lived in Ciudad Acuña, just a 10-minute drive over the bridge. This is where my journey begins, to remember where my family's from. To remember my grandma's house with her beautiful lime tree in front of her house, and the giant nopal that was in the front yard as well. While those might be gone now, I hope that my niece and nephew will see this and begin to learn their history.
Dear Dad, some of my fondest memories are when you used to take me to the tianguis to buy fresh ingredients. It was a huge market, and it was like entering a magical world. It was entirely covered by large tarps, each intricately erected on wooden sticks by all the comerciantes every Wednesday and Sunday, and then expertly dismantled. It was like a sudden apparition, the way it was there and then it wasn't. I guess that's why we call each booth un puesto, because it's literally a booth que está puesto ahí nomás. I remember you would take me there on Sundays and we would buy very precise amounts of fresh ingredients. 5 chiles poblanos, 6 tomatillos, 2 jitomates, una cebolla, un puñito de chile de árbol, 1 kilo de arroz, medio kilo de quesito fresco, and of course 3 chicken feet for our dog. You were so proud telling me how you were going to prepare each ingredient, and I remember feeling proud that you were my dad, because of how you treated others and how they treated us back. You were so sure of yourself, and yet so kind and compassionate. You did everything with so much care. I remember years later, I returned to the market with my friends to eat quesadillas de huitlacoche and enjoy un juguito fresco. And I too tried to befriend and gain their respect from the comerciantes. I remember I tried to do the same with every cashier when we moved to the US, but it wasn't the same. You gave up so much of what brought you happiness by coming to the US. I saw it then, and I understand it now. And yet, you continue to impact the people around you and continue to make chile relleno for me and my mom, even though the ingredients weren't as fresh. When I went back to Mexico for your memorial, my childhood friends shared with me the impact you had on them. Some of those friends I hadn't spoken to in a decade, but here you were, still making connections.
A few months ago, I received a phone call at the library I work at. The caller was clearly upset and began the conversation with a rude tone saying, "What? I don't understand." It was evident that this conversation wouldn't be friendly. Having dealt with rude callers before, often due to my accent, I braced myself. My job is to help people, and that was my unique intention: resolve whatever issue they had. However, it soon became clear that this person wasn't looking for solutions. They just wanted to vent their frustrations. When the caller started making personal attacks and being overly racist, I didn't hesitate to label their comments as such. Experiencing racism is unique for everyone, which makes it difficult to explain. I know it well. It's the way a person looks at me. Cold, unwelcome glare, difficult to describe unless someone has felt it themselves. So I told them directly, what you are saying is racist. Some might argue that calling someone racist is too strong, almost a taboo, or that there is a fear of hurting someone's feelings. For me, it's nerve wracking to confront someone about their racism. It would be easier to ignore it and move on. But deep down, I knew I needed to stand up for myself. I warned them, if you keep talking like this, I'll have to end the call. This wasn't the first time I had faced such a hostility. I often think about moments when I didn't speak up, like when someone attacked me physically and told me that I didn't belong here, or when my neighbor yelled at me to go back home. The fact that I didn't defend myself still haunts me. Well, I don't know if one can fully heal from discrimination because it's too damaging. I believe in the power of speaking up. My hope is that things will change over time. Ultimately, I take immense pride in the qualities that set me apart. Being bilingual is more than just a skill. My accent, too, is a sign of courage that reflects my journey and resilience.
All I knew was the fact I was born in Guatemala. There, I had an incredible life. I was a cheerful person, full of life, love, and extraordinary people around me. We were 7 siblings, 6 girls and 1 boy. I know, my poor brother. Not really, he loves it. There was my sweet mother, who loved reading, and my silly dad, who loved telling scary stories. We did not have electricity. It was perfect. I did not know we were poor, but in my teens, I noticed it. We lived eating frijoles negros, arroz, y hierbitas. This story is about my mixed race kids and my fears. My husband is not Guatemalan. Although we loved Guate, we made the decision to move to the US. As we were raising our 3 amazing boys in a mixed race family household, full of laughs, music, dance, food, bike rides, and school life, life was not simple. Because my boys are all diverse in appearance, others will treat them differently because of preconceived notions. One of my biggest concerns has been that my kids may face discrimination because of who they are. Yes, it is a genuine and incapacitated fear. I hope I did not pass that to them. Due to that fear, I became guarded around people. I thought they would criticize or doubt my children's strengths, abilities, and humanity. Mostly out of dread, I made sure to participate in what they were doing. There, I became aware of my fears and the person I was becoming. So I decided to use this realization as inspiration. Inspiration to return to the happy, loving, life affirming person I used to be. Realizing that amazing people were out there. My kids were making friends and seeing the US as their home. Yes, their home. And as their mother, I was not going to stop that. Indeed, the United States and its biases have the power to bring out the best and worst in people. Even with those biases, my boys are proud of who they are. Guatemaltecos en estadounidenses, comiendo frijoles negros, arroz, hierbitas y mashed potatoes and gravy.
Our elders say you must heal to break the cycles for the generations to come. And that's what I eagerly did and am committed to do for the time to come. From the moment I found out I was pregnant, the stress and anxiety grew from the pressures of healing. I understood my life would shift when becoming a mother. However, I wasn't prepared to be reborn mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. I thought this was the toughest part of it all, but it was just the beginning. I grew more anxious to be around so many strangers with my unborn baby who I so desperately wanted to keep safe. The chaos and unpredictability of the pandemic and how it affected humanity really opened my eyes to see how ugly and cruel humans can be. Illnesses, mental health, homelessness, and the opioid crisis was at an all-time high, driving people to unspeakable measures. The madness drove me further away from the place I called home. All I knew was that I needed to take time to focus on myself, my beautiful family, and the need to change our environment. So here we are, ever so blessed to live among the lands and the water, a healthy distance away from the concrete jungle. My heart forever misses the community and the people I got to grow alongside with and serve. However, I'm at peace with the flow of transition and that I truly gave my all to my community before making the conscious decision to move away. As for now, my job is to focus on my children that I brought into this world and prepare them for whatever life has in store. Throughout it all, I love and appreciate my partner and our families for supporting me on this journey. In the hardest of times, I'm grateful for our traditional practices, song, dance, and prayer, to be able to connect with Mother Earth's gifts and go out on the canoe to release all of life's stresses, letting myself blossom into the mother I am and meant to be.
It was August 26, 1981,
when I first laid eyes on my beautiful baby girl. You came 2 months earlier than expected, my little but perfect baby. I was in awe of you. After a short stay in the hospital due to low birth weight, my little princess was able to come home. You were about 6 months old when I noticed that you were experiencing difficulties in meeting some developmental milestones. OT and PT suddenly became part of our everyday lives. I struggled with the fact that my baby girl had difficulties doing things that was so easily attained by your sisters. Over the years, I found myself instinctively stepping in to do things for you instead of watching you struggle to do them yourself. After all, wasn't it my responsibility to make life easier for you? There were times when you pushed back against my help and insisted on doing things on your own. You can do so many things on your own, and sometimes in your own special way that are easiest for you. I can recall you potty training yourself. One day you took off your diaper and went to potty, and have been doing so ever since. Silly me thought that you weren't ready yet. Sorry that it has taken many years for me to realize that at times I can be more of a hindrance than helpful. I am sometimes saddened that you can't communicate in a way that many others can understand. But still, you are so excited to share with family and friends. You have so much to say. I have realized that when I do things for you, I am holding you back from growing. I am guilty of focusing on your shortcomings rather than your strengths. Baby, you have taught me a lot over the years. Through our time together, you have taught me a valuable lesson about acceptance. I embrace every aspect of who you are and wouldn't change a thing. Spread your wings and fly.
Dear Akash and Ahan, one of the most important questions you'll answer in life is about love. What does love mean? Your great-grandfather, my tata, was how I first learned about love. Tamrakote, our village of thatched huts, chickens, and cows, wasn't kind to him, filled with nights of hunger, desperate for a better life. This desperation made him determined to make his family all doctors, so they would not suffer like he did. He made your grandfather wake up at 5 a.m. to study every day, scolding him when he hid comic books under his textbooks. He taught them that love was fierce, unexpressed, and demanding. Your grandfather's love to me was gentler, but still unsaid. Disappointment more than anger with imperfect report cards in school. I had to do well because if I didn't become a doctor, how would I protect my family from the punishing poverty that they had witnessed? I remember returning to our village in middle school. I remember hot chai in silver cups, wind rustling the coconut trees. And I remember the silence, the listlessness, the hopelessness. I felt the gap between my life of privilege and the life of my ancestors. I was gifted a life of stability because of my ancestors' complicated, demanding devotion to my future, and now I could do more for the world. Then you were born. I knew I could show you a different kind of love, one born from a foundation of stability. I could build on the sacrifices of our ancestors to fill the holes left in my experience. I could show you that love can be generous and playful by matching your silliness. That love can be abundant by having enough for you, our family, my colleagues, and patients during moments of joy and grief. That love can be selfless by choosing justice over our own security, by advocating for the marginalized, and using our resources to uplift others. I hope you know this love, my son, and you expand it to something even greater and pass it on to your children and the world. With love, your dad.
Dear past me, hi, this is your future self. You will have a hard few years ahead of you, first and third grade. When you have your best report card, your mom and dad will take you out for ice cream and the movies. You'll go home and your mom and dad will sit you down and tell you that they're getting a divorce. From there, it will be a downward spiral. 3 months later, COVID hits and you cannot cope and mourn. You won't be able to hang out with friends, and that just makes everything so much harder. Then, in the middle of 5th grade, 2 people come up to you and pin you to the wall. One punches you in the gut, and one hits the ball out of your hands. Then you fight your way out of their arms and yell at them. The recess coach breaks it up and tells you to go to the office. You run out of the gates to your mom's work. You go onto the field where your principal physically slaps you and the counselor calls your mom. I wish the recess coaches would have seen that you were just defending yourself from being hit. Towards the end of 6th grade in gym class, a kid keeps throwing M&Ms at you and calls you the N-word and fat. Thankfully, your gym teacher's next to you and overhears what he said and got him kicked out of gym and suspended for 3 days. You'll get interviewed by the principal and she'll ask if the racist name calling is still happening, and you'll say yes, and she'll ask, why do you not report it? You'll say you did, like 3 times, but nothing will happen, so you stop. Your voice is obviously not being valued by your middle school. As you can see, these are all hard things, but nothing can stop you. You are stronger than you know. People continue to show up for you like your 6th grade gym teacher, your 3rd grade teacher, your mom, and your down the hill neighbors. Keep being optimistic about life, and it's okay if you're not always going to be.
I am Spokane, children of the sun. I come from ancestors who were fueled by roots, berries, and salmon. Like our animal relations, my people moved when the seasons told us to. My ancestors spoke beautiful words, These words came from warm intentions deep within one's soul. My being in a thick, misty forest, lost and confused, broken and hurt. I'm finding my way back to my people. My journey, like the salmon and my language, I too came close to extinction. The process of reviving my identity consisted of powwows, regalia, sweat lodge, looking into myself and loving me, breaking chains, bringing my daughter out to the powwow circle, speaking the language in her presence, enjoying the mountains with huckleberries and wild strawberries, early mornings, sitting at the summer camp, having laughs near the river. This is my history. These are my journeys. I pray I'm learning to speak the language. I am Spokane. I am proud. I am on my journey and it will never end. I am valued. I am strong. I am worthy. I am Sasha. I am Spokane.
A story I've told myself which no longer serves me. I don't belong in my immediate family. I don't belong in my native community. I don't belong in my non-native community. I don't belong. A quote I've told myself about my limitations or faults. It's a man's world. I should have been born a man. Today I'm letting go of the feeling that I do not belong and the feeling of patriarchal oppression within myself, my family, and my community. It is gone.
I'm letting go of the need to prove my worth, the need to do all the time, and to just show up as who I am authentically without having to perform.
My story is one of connection, joy, laughter, positivity, optimism, and being perfectly imperfect, just how I am. And I tell myself, you made this happen. Never forget who you are and where you came from, and those who are part of your journey. Don't forget to tell your family and friends you love them. I hope to be remembered as someone who makes others feel seen, heard, and valued.
My story is amazing. I consistently rewrite my narrative. My story is one of playfulness, encouragement, elevation, grit, humor, happiness, wonder, discovery, caring, courage, learning, exploration, adventure, achievement, love, connection, laughing, animals, and art.
I'm inviting into my space self-love, rest, recharging, healing, and stepping into that I know I am a warrior, I am health, and I am love.
I'm taking all the time I need to take care of my mind, body, spirit, and emotions, and inviting a balance of my medicine wheel. When I have this space and time to enjoy, I feel peace, grateful, love, whole, abundance, forgiveness. This looks like smiles and laughters and feels like heaven on earth. I am seventh generation. I am hope for the future, and I'm Salit Etzeshwala Kusamat.
I hope to be remembered as a lifelong learner, an advocate, a bridge builder, connecting communities for love, for acceptance, for healing, for thriving. I'd like to be remembered as an activist, an abolitionist, a change maker, a forgiver, a person who gives a hand up. I'd like to be remembered as a person who had joy in their life.
Future self, what is your legacy piece? What will your legacy be? Will you honor your long held friendships that know your history and are the keeper of your history and your legacy? How will your footprints look in the world behind you? How will your hands shape the world?
I can see myself lollygagging with gratitude. I will be surrounded by my children and grandchildren and my partner, Troy. I will be sitting in the back of the longhouse at Whatcom Creek, Puppyawith, Lithlinquit, and I will be surrounded by community singing, dancing, and sharing their wealth. I'm excited to bring back houses of healing, houses of learning, longhouses to our ancestral village sites in the Salish Sea. I'm excited to restore the 13 moon food sovereignty to the Salish Sea for thriving cultures and environment for all. And I tell myself, I only bring tears of joy to my grave. I hope to be remembered as someone who cared, who hit the bullseye of love.
The grief of transitioning homes and learning who I am and where I come from. I'm from the tree-lined driveway, two 12-foot skeletons down Haxton. I am from Lummi, is what I am told. Yet why is it that the only place I ever found home was the pale blue house, surrounded by a sea of strangers, in complete, isolated suburbia? This house haunts me. It has etched itself into my soul, claiming the title of home. Am I from this hand I let go of 3 years ago? this suburban house I left in the past. Each passing day we spend in the trailer feels like a silent battle against the encroaching shadows of loss. The loss of a life we spent 10 years building, surrounded by our ruined belongings, remnants of a life that could no longer fit into our much smaller one, a life that overflowed. Every day I cling to the hope that perhaps home isn't defined by the beauty of its surroundings, but rather the intimacy of its warm embrace. That within these walls there's a promise of a new beginning, a whisper of a dream, a hand waiting to be held, a journey waiting to unfold. I am from Lummi, where the air carries the whispers of my ancestors past, where my father, grandpa, and grandma will watch over and protect me. They're in the wind, in the eagles that fly over my head on my way to school. They're in the sun, the rainbows, the beats. I am from the tree-lined driveway. I am from the towering skeletons that guard our memories. I am everything that I once was, everything I will be, and everyone that came before me. From Lummi to suburbia, from the trailer on Haxton to the pale blue house in Blaine, each place has left its mark on me. I am surrounded by my family, with my grandma and my aunts and my uncles and my little cousins just down the street. I am no longer isolated. I am learning my language, learning my culture, reclaiming it all bit by bit. I am the culmination of my ancestors' wildest dreams.
My journey didn't begin in Bellingham. It started in Mexico City. My parents, Catalina and Jose Javier, fell in love there, going on taco dates and strolling through the park near my father's family home on Calle Estrella. When my sister and I were young, they left everything they knew behind to head for Los Estados Unidos, the land of many promises, or so they say. My parents are ambitious. My mother has this beaming energy about her, lighting up every space she's in. She's kind but fierce. My father's the most creative person I've ever known, always drawing, playing music, telling jokes. He made everybody laugh. These two energies came together and created me. I would watch my parents dance in the middle of the living room enjoying themselves, and it was in those moments I wished I was more like them. I carried my mother's ability to connect with people and all this creativeness from mi papa. I've always felt like a sparkle child. Picture this: glittery black platform shoes at the age of 6 and a lifelong love for holographic things. For so long, I thought I made up those glittery black platforms until I came across them again in an old photograph. In this old photo, my family and I were standing in front of our first apartment in the US, number 101, on the corner of some busy street on Redmond Way. Despite working so much, my mama and papa looked so proud in this photo. I felt like I never saw them, but when I did, I felt loved. The only time my sparkle bursted into pieces across the ether was when I lost my dad. It wasn't until then that I understood how much of him was a part of me. Grief consumed me. Pain so deep it felt like my lungs collapsing and time pixelating into nothingness. I've been reclaiming my sparkle, finding pieces of it in unexpected places, at Tikal in Guatemala, before the Mona Lisa in Paris, and over tacos de barbacoa with my boyfriend in La Ciudad, where my parents fell in love.
When I was 17, I got pregnant and I decided to keep my baby. I knew I had a rough road ahead, but I pressed on. I went on to have my baby, completed my senior year of high school, and received my diploma. I had no plans post graduation, so I decided to take a leap of faith and move across country to Washington State. Shortly after my arrival, I found that I was pregnant with baby number 2. I went to the Department of Social Services and applied for food stamp, medical, and child care. My partner joined me in Seattle, but he didn't like it, so he didn't stay. I struggled to find my way as a single parent. This was not the plan. Everything was a challenge. I had no coping skills to deal with the stressors of being a single parent. I felt like I was losing my mind. So I started partying, going to the clubs, dancing, singing, mingling with other adults. That was my outlet. My absence had a negative impact on my relationship with my children. I continued to spiral. One day at the Department of Social Services, I was introduced to a program geared to support teen parents. This program offered 1 year of cognitive therapy, parenting and nutrition classes, and wait for it, childcare. I was in a new city with little resources and no support system. I signed up for the program and I completed it. The program changed my life. I got my head screwed on straight, reconnected with my children, and enrolled in college courses where I obtained my master's degree in clinical psychology. Now I am the therapist who is helping those who are spiraling with no coping skills and childcare concerns. None of my accomplishments would have been possible without adequate and affordable childcare. The cost of childcare has soared over the years and is a major stressor for my clients. Childcare is essential as we found out during the COVID-19 pandemic. Everything suffers without childcare. Affordable childcare changes lives. It surely changed mine.
You knew what to do. I love your energy. Oh my goodness. What an honor to be able to be in community with such amazing storytellers today. Thank each and every one of you for your sharing. I'm so excited. We still have a lot more programming coming up, but just want to take a moment to acknowledge each of you for being here and each of you for sharing your stories. It means the world to me. And this is what belonging feels like to me, to be in community, healing, and connecting together. So we're going to get started with an amazing panel conversation. So I would like to invite our 3 panelists up to the stage and let's give them a warm welcome. You know how we do. We're going to settle in now and get to know some of these storytellers a little bit more than what we heard from them in their video process. So for each of these stories, what happens is we meet in a group of about 6 people and we connect and talk about ideas for stories, and it's just a process to come and narrow it down to a short script and then voice it and then put in their own imagery. And it's just really special to have full authorship over your own story. And these folks and all the storytellers here went through that. And so I'd just love to welcome each one of you. And if you'd like to just each tell us a little bit about yourselves, and welcome.
I'm Sharonda Jamerson. I am a mental health and addiction therapist, work as an essential worker. That's why I need my childcare. What else do I? Oh, I do anti-racist trainings and workshops, and I travel and talk about generational pain. So, because we have more in common than not.
My name is Victoria Matea, use she, her pronouns. I am a longtime resident of Bellingham, Washington. I studied at Western Washington University. I consider myself a creative in many aspects. I'm also the host of Shot of Truth podcast, where I've interviewed hundreds of undocumented people like myself and navigating our stories here in the US and beyond. And I'm also on the board of LALA, which is the Leadership Advocacy Leadership Association. And yeah, that's who I am.
I'm Anissa. I use any pronouns, she, he, they. I don't really mind what you perceive me as. I am 18 years old. I'm a post grad, so I'm still kind of figuring out who I am and like where I come from and stuff. I'm a tutor, post grad, and yeah, I also consider myself a creative. I'm very, I consider myself a very emotionally in tune person and very like present person. And I take pride in that. And yeah, that's who I am.
Welcome, Anissa, Victoria, and Sharonda. So let's get this party started with my first question, which is you all have a lot going on in your lives. You have a lot of choices to make, as to how you're spending your time. So why did you choose to participate in a community storytelling project? Why would you go and do that?
I like being on TV. No. Um, growing up in church, they always say your testimony can help somebody else, and your story is your testimony. And if you can inspire 1 to 10,000 people, then it's worth exposing yourself to help the next person. So I chose to tell my story because I think my story is worth telling, and because what we've seen, our stories are not out there. Our stories, we don't have a lot of spaces for our stories. So that's another reason why I want to tell my story, is because when I get a platform, I'm going to share what society failed to tell you.
So, although I've lived in Bellingham for a really long time, I've always felt like I was lacking community. And I had this deep desire to be in community just over the last 2 years. And when this opportunity presented itself to be in a space with other Latinos to talk about our stories, our lives, so much more came out of it. And it really became like a collective grief circle of healing and listening and understanding. And I didn't realize how much I needed that. And to do that and build awesome friendships, to know somebody more than I knew them beforehand, was really, really special. To meet Nelly, who is in the back and shared her story, to meet Julian, who also shared his story about his father, and connecting with them in such a deep way has opened other doors for me to be involved in this community in other ways. Like I shared, being a part of LALA, the Latino Advocacy Leadership Association, really came out of starting with this group. So yeah, thank you, Monica.
Okay, why am I a part of this project? I don't know. I'm a little bit crazy. I wouldn't say crazy, no. But I take opportunities a lot. And I go with the flow. I do things, I say yes to things, and the goal is to experience, and the goal is to share experience with others and to share my story and be heard and take up space and be known. That is something that I've been taught by many like women like me. And that is something that has deeply inspired me. And that is a person that I would like to become. Storytelling is also a big part of my culture. I am native. I am native to the Lumbee tribe, and I grew up around storytelling. I would it's just a big part of our culture is just to like learn from the elders and then like pass it down and be heard, and that's it's kind of how we do it. Yeah.
You all spoke a little bit about this, but I want to just like give an opportunity for you to expand. What did you get out of the experience of creating your digital story and connecting in a group? What was that group and what was the process like for you?
Storytelling, I'm really wordy. And so Monica had to really ring me in, and that was hard for me. But I like how she guided me to make the story more succinct. And it did draw more out of me than I thought I was ready and willing to give. But I did like also meeting the other ladies. There was, how many was it? Was like 10 of us. It was 6 or 8 of us somewhere up here in Bellingham, somebody's house. And I'm not technology. That's where I fall short, technology. And so Monica helped me with all the graphics and all that wonderful stuff. And just to see my story on screen, it just gave me another perspective as if I'm looking at someone else's life. And I was able to take a step back and see what this person has gone through. So I can see me in a different way and my struggles and how far I've come. Because sometimes we take for granted the progress that we make because we can't see it as we making it. But when we see it all played out on the screen, it's like, wow, look what I did. So that was good for me.
So, so in my story, you see a lot of photos that are really old. And when my dad passed away, I had probably a few days to just take what I wanted of his belongings. And one of them was a flash drive that I knew one day I would have the courage to look through, knowing that there were photos from my family in Mexico. And so when this opportunity came up, this is when I finally opened the flash drive and got to see my parents in their youth. Got to see photos of myself as a baby that I had never seen before. Um, yeah, really confronted a lot in going through those. So a lot of photos of my mom and dad at the beach. And it really showed me like that my parents had a really beautiful life before they migrated to the US. And that so often we come to the US and share our stories of struggle, but our story of connection to our land and our people and our community in Mexico was so beautiful to witness and have the opportunity to share. And so much of my grief, I feel like I shared with others. And that's when I noticed that like grief is meant to be moved through with people and not on your own. And yeah, like getting the opportunity to just like be seen in that and be held with that and be accepted through the pretty, the ugly parts of grief, and being able to share that in a way that made sense to me, by sharing, bits and pieces of my parents, by sharing my love for holographic things. Yeah, really helped ground me in a really special way. And I felt so seen and held by the people that were a part of that space. And I can't wait to see how many more communities and circles get to experience that.
I I do not have a very like profound message like these women beside me do. But I how this whole thing came together was it was a part of like a little school project that I was invited to be a part of. It wasn't only me. It was a handful of other students too. Many of them were my very close friends, and they also had very profound and very like heartwarming stories to provide, as all people do. And I can't remember. It was a really long time ago. It was in my, I think, early junior year. We met how many times a week? Like,
It was like a total of 20 hours altogether.
yeah, like a total of 20 hours. We all met in a classroom and we did these exercises. We made drafts on paper and we thought of what we wanted to share, and we shared it in a circle together in our class, and it was very intimate. It was very profound. And I was part of that. And from my story, I went to Shirley, co-founder of our school, and I told her about my story, and she was like, "You could bring this to the community and get help for your home." And I just said yes, because I don't know, like I said, I'm an opportunist. I like to take opportunities. So I said yes, I will lead this cohort and I will provide for my family. And then I led the cohort. I got a whole bunch of people together. It was very inspiring how many people stepped up to help my family. And yeah, then we made stuff happen, and we made stuff happen at our property. People came to our property, including some of my teachers even, which I'm very grateful for. They cut down the trees. Our property looks so much more different from in our video. The trees are cut down, or some of them are, and we now have a house in place. I no longer live in a trailer, and I'm very, very grateful for that. It's been a very long journey, and it all started with this video, and I would just like to thank Monica for that.
So, the next question is, has something shifted for you after sharing your story? So, Anissa, you touched on it a little bit, and I think your piece was especially artistic in the telling of your story. But if you'd like to expand kind of on how this project came about for the transformation of your housing, you're welcome to say more, and what's really shifted for all of you as a result of sharing your story.
Yeah, it all started with the community cohort. I called to action for a lot of things, like we needed trees cut down so that electricity could come in and our house could come in. We found a few people who could help out with that, mainly my teachers and a few people from community fellows. And yeah, it first started with the trees. We got a lot of trees cut down. We got the land cleared. And then to explain a certain part of my video, the ruined belongings part, we moved out of our house pretty quickly because of my late father. It was the original house, the suburban house, was my mom and my dad bought it together, and it was mainly my father. So he just kind of like in the divorce took that house as kind of like a part of control over our family. So that's why we moved out of there pretty quickly. We found a piece of land, we put our trailer on there, and we moved out. And that was the start of the journey to a new home or forever home on our with our family and loved ones nearby. So, yeah, the ruining belongings part was we had all of our furniture just kind of outside with a shed and a tarp. The tarp fell down. And a lot of our furniture, a lot of our belongings were just kind of scattered out there over time. I think it was just really bad timing because my mom broke her back around the same time that we like kind of moved in, and we didn't really get to take care of like the whole shed and like our property. And we had a few uncles who moved onto the land and kind of like trashed it a little bit, and it just wasn't what we were envisioning. And that's where the story came from. That's where the grief came from of missing my old home. But in order to build a new home, you have to move out of the old one. And I'm very glad we did that. I am very, very happy. I'm very loving of my new home, and I'm very grateful for it. But this video was just kind of the journey. It was the process. Yeah, like I said, it was made in my early junior year, and now I am a post grad, and things are different. Things are looking up, and I'm very, very happy and very loving of my family and loved ones.
So, in our final moments together, I have one more question, and that's just: is there anything that you haven't shared, anything that we don't know about you that you would like to share at this time?
Is it anything you want to know? um, how many of you guys like to be vulnerable? Anybody? I don't like it either. But one of the things about what shifted in me is allowing myself to be more vulnerable when I'm with family and friends and clients. Because if I'm vulnerable, I give them permission naturally to be vulnerable as well. And if we keep hiding our truth, then society will never know our truths. And if we want to change, then we got to show up as our authentic selves. Because if we don't, then we will always see what we've always been seeing. And so therefore we got to change what we see and disrupt what we see by showing up as our authentic self and let the world see us for who we are and not who they want us to be.
So I've been sharing my story for a long time through various ways, whether it be workshops I've hosted or done in the community, through my podcast, Shot of Truth podcast, and then in this opportunity. I wouldn't say anything shifted for me, but I do want to say that stories have stories, right? There's stories even behind what you saw. And so, what if I told you that in watching that, you were also seeing my first return home in 27 years, that I got to go back to Mexico, meet my dad's family, and walk, to that taco spot that my mom and dad had their original dates at, and live that, right? And how transformational and how much that changed my being and my spirit to be home for the first time again. And, to be an undocumented person in this time, I'm not afraid. I know everybody else is afraid for me, but I'm not afraid because I've had the opportunity to see my home, to see other parts of the world through advanced parole, which is a whole legal thing to leave the country and be able to come back, extremely expensive. But having the opportunity to see what's outside of these borders made me less afraid because I know that I will thrive. I know that I will find community. I know that the community here, even in this room, will show up for me if anything were to happen to me.
Sure will.
And I really believe that, our stories move people and have impact. And so it doesn't matter, there's so many numbers that we're fed. There's so many awful stories that we hear around the criminalization of immigrants, but we're out here, we're your neighbors. We're just waiting to be seen, to be invited, to be integrated, to be celebrated. And I think that is where the shift is in these heavy times. How can we shift and also honor joy and uplift these stories and not push people back into the closet like I've been feeling from people? And yeah, and that's part of it. I guess the last thing I'll share is that I'm excited. I know things are tough right now, but I'm excited that we get to exist and move through this all together.
Yeah, following up with what I said last time I spoke. Yeah, the main thing we need is funding. There is a GoFundMe because we are a family of 3. It is just me, my little sister, and my mom, and that's it. And the thing about that is, and the thing about it is that this is the main struggle of it is just kind of being overshadowed and kind of like brushed off and pushed aside by the people that we need help from. I lived in that trailer for 4 years with no electricity, no water, and it was just a camper trailer, and it was all 3 of us. And we tried to get water and sewer in, we tried to get electricity. They wouldn't let us get anything until we had a house put in. There were just countless emails from my mom sent back and forth, and nobody would listen to us and our call for help. And that still kind of happens. There is greed to acknowledge in these like organizations like sewer and electricity. They want more money from you. There's loopholes, so many loopholes, and we just can't afford it. Yeah, recently we were told that we do need to pay for electricity when we were previously told that we do not need to pay for electricity because there was some weird loophole stuff. It's hard to explain. Water and sewer got put in first, so that went against some stuff. So the tribe offered to pay for it, but now that's apparently off the table. We learned recently, and we've already been living paycheck to paycheck regardless. With the gas prices, we live off of a generator. We've been living off of generators for 4 years. We have so many like broken down generators, and we just want a warm, loving home, just like any other person. It is now November, and it is getting cold, and it is getting dark, and we need electricity. So that is my call for help, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you each for your profound sharing and your vulnerable sharing. And we are here in community to support and hold our hands as we're moving through some really hard times. Thank you. Let's give another big round of applause. You know how we do it, the stomping. Yes. We're at a time where we are looking at a new mosaic of who we are. And looking around the room today, I'm overjoyed to feel like we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right, Bellingham. So my final words to you are to share your story every single day. You never know who needs to hear it.